Hello, good folks of the photography and videography community. I'm Timmy J, and this is Hot Pixel Imagery. And I'm super stoked to be here today with the first video in a series of videos that I'm going to be making here on the channel. And I'm going to be calling these videos the Lens Shoutout series. So in each video, I'm going to select a lens and I am going to give you the straight skinny on that lens. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to start off with lenses that I personally own and have personally spent my own money on. None of these videos are sponsored. This is all for educational purposes and my own gear acquisition syndrome justification. That being said, this series of videos, there's no limit to what lenses could receive a shout out on this channel. They could be telephoto, they could be ultra wide, fisheye, they could be primes, they could be zooms, they could be for full frame, APS-C, a cinema lens. There's really no limit to what lens could receive a shout out. And I'm sure all of the companies are just, joyous to hear that they may receive a shout out on this channel. But anyways, this video, I want to shout out one of my favorite lenses ever. It's probably tied right up there with my favorite lens ever. And that is the Sony FE 24mm f1.4 G Master. And yes, I know, everyone and their mother has a video out there on the internet about the 24mm G Master, and this is my video on the lens, alright? I've used this lens for years now, couple years now. I got it, pretty much as soon as the general public could get their hands on it, because if you remember when this lens was first released, the demand for it was so high that it often took, I've heard in cases, up to a year to get your hands on it. This lens is always in my kit. I pretty much don't leave or go shoot without it. The reason I bought the lens is because I wanted to get into astrophotography a little more. I wanted a brighter, wider angle of view. This lens provides an 84-degree angle of view, which I find to be really nice for astrophotography. This is a good landscape lens, environmental portraits. In this video series, I'm going to talk about the specs of the lens, but I'm also going to show you some examples taken with the lens and what I use it for in my daily workflow. You'll get to see all kinds of different pictures taken on this lens in various different lighting situations. And I'm going to try and kind of show you some photos that should be decent examples as to what I'm talking about. But this has a nice wide aperture, f1.4 wide open, and the minimum aperture on it is f16. You can get nice sun stars on this lens. It has a 67mm front filter thread for your ND filter and circular polarizer filter type applications. It has the standard build quality you can come to expect from Sony's G Master line of lenses. These are all built really well, I think. They're super tight. They all kind of have the same sort of aesthetic, which I really like. They all have the same sort of features as far as the majority of them anyways. They have the clickable and declickable aperture ring. So video shooters can do smooth exposure pulls by declicking that aperture. Or photographers can click the aperture for that haptic or tactile response that you get shooting with the aperture clicks on. It also has the autofocus, manual focus switch on it, which I seriously use all the time when I'm shooting on this lens and other Sony lenses that have the autofocus manual focus switch. I'm constantly back and forth depending on what I'm shooting. That's a very handy switch. And then above that, you have a button here, standardly programmed as a focus hold button. However, you can reprogram this button to various different features. I just saw a video from Josh Yo explaining how he reprograms his button to your autofocus speed sensitivity and how fast you or slow your focus is racked. So I've gone ahead and done the same thing. Seeing how I never really used it for focus hold, I recommend that, especially for video shooters. You're trying to pull focus a certain speed, fantastic. It's got a little bit of a bulbous front to it, but it's tucked down behind whatever filter you would thread onto the top of it. The focus ring is really good. I will say this, I got this lens to shoot photos of the stars, okay? And it is touted as an incredible performer when shooting the stars, which I completely agree with. This is an incredible lens to shoot the stars with. However, this is just a little side note. I know a lot of folks that shoot with manual focus will use focus peaking. Well, I found that the focus peaking when shooting photos of the stars is not exactly that accurate. It will show peaking highlight on the stars and you will think that you're in focus, and really you won't be in focus. I find this lens focuses the best when you go to infinity and back a little bit. Sometimes you got to find the sweet spot of your lens. And anyways, all I'm saying is I recommend in that case, if you're trying to shoot photos of the stars and you want tack sharp stars, use I set a custom button to focus magnifier, and then I set the focus magnification to its maximum, which I think is either 6.2 times magnification or 5.9 times magnification, depending on what camera you have. Basically, I set it so that focus magnifier is a button press away. I press that button, I can punch in to actually see the star, then I can focus till I can get the star as tack sharp as I can. That way I've magnified in on the photo. I can be sure that what I'm seeing, what I think is in focus, truly is in focus with the focus magnifier technique, shooting photos of the stars anyways. I find that to be a little more reliable than the focus peaking. Just throwing that out there. A little side rant, sorry about that. This really is a great lens. It's got a little heft to it, but it's still pretty small. This lens here goes for $1,400 currently USD, and in my opinion, it's worth every penny of that, even though that is a little bit steep for a prime lens. You're getting a G Master lens, and it's really top of the line when it comes to build quality. $1,400 is a lot of money, I understand that, but I really do believe that this lens is worth every penny of that. And if you're somebody like me who likes to shoot photos of the stars and you're shooting from the Sony E-mount, this is a no-brainer lens. Let's go a little more about specs here on this. It has a minimum focus distance of 9.45 inches or 24 centimeters. The internal construction of this lens is 13 elements in 10 different groups. There are 11 rounded aperture blades inside this, which provide nice, round, circular bokeh. And the bokeh on this lens is fantastic for 24 millimeters. You can be even a little bit away from your subject and still blur the background with this 24 millimeter 1.4. I'll show you a few examples of the ability to shoot with a shallow depth of field a little further away than you would imagine with your normal 24 millimeter lens. The bokeh on this is very creamy and smooth. I really like it for nighttime city type photos or light trail type photos, long exposures. This is a good environmental portrait lens. Like I said, it's pretty light. It's 15.7 ounces or 445 grams. So specs stuff aside, this is a really good lens. It's got all kinds of really good bells and whistles, and it's not all fantastic for this lens, however, and as well as a lot of the other Sony G Master lenses on the market suffer from focus breathing. You know, when you're a video shooter like me and you are constantly shooting video and photos, and even in photography, if you need to stack your photos, having a lens with focus breathing is not good. You don't want that. So the more focus breathing the lens has, the worse off you are. So the focus breathing on this 24mm is not great. It's not horrendous, but it's not great. The lens I'm currently shooting this video on is a 35mm G Master, and this lens does have some focus breathing. Oh well, you know, I'm doing a future video comparing this 35 with the Sony F1.4 35mm. But anyways, yeah, this 24mm is getting a full-blown shout out here. It's fantastic. I love this thing. Highly recommend it. Seriously, pick yourself up a 24mm 1.4 G Master. You won't regret it. But if you're kind of interested in what this lens can actually do, I want to take some time and show you a little bit of some examples that I've taken with this lens that I feel like are good examples of what you could expect to get in different lighting and different environmental situations. So, okay. So this also comes with a pedal style lens hood, and it's got like a velvet lining on the inside of the lens hood to absorb light and make it so you don't get any reflections when you got the lens hood on. So I recommend in most cases shooting with the lens hood on, unless maybe you've got filters on the lens or whatever. But it's a nice, decent lens hood. It does collect some dust. I recommend taking like a lint roller when it's off of the... Take the lens hood off, and you can use like a lint roller on the inside, get some of the little particles that might end up sticking to the felt inside lining of this lens hood. That's just a little side note, might be helpful. I do it every now and again. Yeah, you got your standard sort of lens hood, but it's got that felt lining on the inside of it, which is awesome. I really, really like that. It does make a difference using a lens hood, and especially one that's got a nice absorption to the light. It makes a difference, I'm telling you. Or maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I feel like I can see a little bit of a difference in photos that I take with a lens hood and then without a lens hood. It's just kind of seems to be unanimously better with the lens hood. I'm going to talk to you about some photos that I shot with the 24mm G Master. This here is an image, an environmental portrait, if you will, of a gentleman by the name of Scotty Greenbuds, showing you just how sharp this lens can be by his age wrinkles. Here is a shot just into some glass. Support your local business. I'm a Christopher Walken fan. I saw this sign. I liked it. All right, and this is another one. This is just a shot I took of a building that used to be a pizza place in my hometown. Used to be called Double J's. It is nothing now. Where I live, there's a lot of trails and a lot of hiking opportunities. And at one of these trailheads was a log that someone had stacked a bunch of rocks on top of one another. And I just saw it and thought it was like really like zen and peaceful, and no one had touched it, and it was there for days. So I decided to photograph it, and I wanted to kind of see, again, test this lens and see its depth of field possibilities, how well I could isolate this particular stack of rocks. So just a random weird shot. This is a shot of my dog and I'm just want to like zoom in to his eyeball. This is using Animal Eye AF, and it is fantastic. I find that it's pretty reliable. Sometimes you might have to refocus when using the Animal Eye AF, but I find if I refocus a couple times, it'll find the eye, and boom, I've got my shot. I mean, it usually will work right away, but if it for some reason doesn't, goes to the nose or something, just refocus. That's what I do. It seems to work for me. The main reason I had got this lens was to do some low light photography. Shoot photos of the stars, Milky Way, and different shots of various different nighttime scenes. So here's one. This is a shot I took. I live on a pond. I just kind of liked how everything looked. There was a little bit of fog coming off the water. I really kind of liked the reflection of the moon coming off of the water. Sun stars. You can get really nice sun stars with this G Master lens. You know, I even find that at f/16, where you would be experiencing quite a bit of diffraction, it's still very sharp at f/16. Your sun stars you can keep nice pin points on your sun stars, or you can shoot them a little more flare-like, where they are a little wide. Got all kinds of different possibilities with this lens. That's one of the things I just love. It's phenomenal lens. In the world of lenses that I've used, and I've used a lot of different lens mount systems. I shoot Fujifilm. I shoot Panasonic also. I'm not a dedicated Sony shooter. I've used lenses from those other mount systems as well as Nikon and Canon and other. I've tested them and tried them. But, you know, I'm a Sony guy. I love my Sony cameras, and just the usability. They do produce a good camera, and it's not the camera. It's the person using it that you can create the soulful content through a inanimate device. As I babble on about something I'm going to cut out of this video. I don't even know what I'm doing. Incredible. This G Master is epic, dude. This is a great lens. This 35mm 1.4 G Master. I have a future video coming up on it versus the Sony 35mm f1.8 because I purchased this lens, noticed the focus breathing, and wondered, is it something I could get past, or is it that noticeable? So let me know in the comments. Are you noticing an incredible amount of focus breathing in this video? Because by the screen, I'm not really seeing the focus budge much at all. I think if I lean in a little bit, we might see some breathing. But let's see that again. Is that, how is that? I mean, if you do it slow, it doesn't breathe that much. It doesn't seem to be that bad to me, but this is a shot just kind of giving you an idea of what the field of view would look like. This is the river down the street from my house. Here we got a shot. I just simply shot this photo for the purpose of this video. You can see the shallow depth of field here focused on the fence or post. And then I shift focus here. This is focused out on the other side of the river. And you can see just how blurred the foreground is. This is a shot of my local skate park right here. I love the colors. The sky was just the right color, but I really think this lens did a good job of capturing pretty much exactly what the sky looked like, what I remember the sky looking like that night. This is a shot. I really love this shot. One of my favorites. This is a friend of mine. It's a skater. We call him Shark Boy. But this is one of my favorite shots at the skate park that I've taken to date. Another shot here. This is an example of its low light performance. This is just downtown where I live in a small podunk little mountain town in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. I really like this lens for doing long exposure work. Anything in the dark or where you need a wide aperture, shallow depth of field, or in low light. This 24 is a great wide prime. Got some astro photos that I'll show you. I want to say these shots are example shots. These are not my life's work. These aren't the best images that I've shot with this lens. They're images that are good enough, in my opinion, to show what it is I'm trying to show about the lens. One of my favorite sessions that I ever shot was out at a place we locally call Norman Ridge. It's just a big open field. There's not really much there, but I figured it was far enough away from most places to get a decent shot of the Milky Way. So I went out there one night on a perfect Milky Way night, and I shot some of the best photos I've ever shot in my life that night. They were all on this 24mm G Master. So I want to show you a couple of them. I'm not going to show you the best ones. I'm hoarding them for my own purposes. But here you are. This is Norman Ridge, and this is the type of shot that I was able to pull off with this lens. You know, a tripod in this lens. Fantastic. Here's a shot showing you some bokeh on this lens. This is just an out of focus nighttime shot. So you can see you have pretty round bokeh even toward the edges of the frame. This might not be the best example for showing that, but there you are. Nice circular bokeh balls, which is what you come to expect from the G Master with their rounded aperture blades. They do a really nice job of keeping your bokeh nice and creamy and dreamy. I have many more of these lens shout-out videos on my way to you after I get the chance to shoot them. Pretty much I want to do lenses that I own. You know, paid for myself. Don't get me wrong. The lenses that I have in my kit are not the lenses I started with. I started with lenses and then I upgraded to this next one and sold other ones and upgraded this and sold that and pretty much honed in my lens collection down to pieces of glass that I know I'm going to use, that I know I can count on, and that really I have no hesitation making a video about recommending them to other people, because these lenses in the shoutouts have done me so well that I'm freely making these videos to hopefully get other people to experience what I've been able to capture with such an awesome lens. So the lenses that will be done first on these lens shoutouts are going to be my most used and most trusted, reliable pieces of glass. So thank you so much for watching today's video. This has been Timmy J with Hot Pixel Imagery. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, please. I would really appreciate it. My soul thoroughly appreciates all of your souls for joining. I've got another lens shout-out video coming very soon for you on another heavy-hitting lens in my kit that I simply couldn't go without. So if you would like to see some more content that's related to photography, videography, and hybrid shooting, click one of these links up here and it'll take you to another one of my videos on cameras, lenses, photography, and videography. So thank you. We will see you in the next one. Fair enough.